Where to next for the light workers? What is the next phase of the light worker journey? But please don't worry if you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm a light worker. Maybe she's not talking to me. What does it mean? Nobody gave me a degree that says I'm officially a light worker. How do I know if I am? You don't. A light worker is so simple. It is merely a term used to describe somebody who's working with energy. That's what light is. Photonic light is frequency, it's energy. Are you energetically awakened? Are you sensitive to energies? Are you evolving? Because if you're feeling things at a very deep level, I promise you, you are. Are you looking beyond the obvious where everyone seems to be stuck? And what I mean by the obvious, like you're looking beyond the movie that everybody's being shown. Think of humanity right now as being in a movie theater, and there are those people engrossed in the movie theater. They're shoveling that popcorn into their face, and they are so unaware, so blissfully unaware that what they're watching is a hologram, so disengaged from what they're feeling and how their unconscious feelings are actually manifesting that hologram. And then in that very same theater, there are those people looking around in disbelief, shock and horror at the popcorn shoveling ones, and they're going, guys, can't you see? Can't you see this is a movie? Can't you see this is a show? Can't you see you're the thing that's real? That out there is the movie. No wonder they call it a movie reel. They're trying to pass off a hologram as reality. So that's what's going on in humanity right now. If I were to sum it up in a visual for you, it's the confusion in the movie theater. The confusion coming primarily from those people who are awakening to the fact that it's a movie and starting that journey, the light worker journey of recognizing who they are as conscious creators. These are the people, the you that I'm speaking to today. I know I got your number and I know what you're feeling. In one word, it's tired. Some people are feeling tired where I'm feeling tired, which is physical tired. Other people are feeling tired at the emotional level. They're emotionally drained. They're emotionally tired. Other people are tired at the level of, I am so tired of this farce. I'm so tired of the movie and people believing the movie is real. I'm tired of the game. I'm tired of life. I'm tired of the old patterns. I'm tired of not seeing change. There's that kind of tired as well. So let me know in the comments below what's your kind of tired. I'm actually really interested to see, does it play out as a physical tired for you? I've been sick. I let you guys know in the video that I put up just before this one. I had tick bite fever. I know, my ode to the ticks was that song, You Give Me Fever. I know, it was awful. If you've ever had tick bite fever, wow, this is not my first rodeo with tick bites, but it knocked me flat. So my tiredness is part of me just getting better and recovering. There's another part of today's conversation. I can't just tell you about what's wrong without telling you how to fix what we're identifying. So that's going to be the second part of today's conversation. Okay, so now you've seen the tiredness. What are we going to do about it? How do we move beyond that exhaustion? How do we start refueling? How do we start refilling? And there's a couple of demands. A couple of demands that light workers are going to feel themselves facing. They're going to feel these demands being placed upon them. And the easier you can meet these demands, the easier your journey of revitalizing is going to be. So let's start at the beginning. Why the hell are you so tired? Who put that exhaustion there? Have you been running? Have you been burning the midnight oil, burning the candle at both ends? What have you been doing? Well, you've just been alive, and that's pretty much enough. Did you know that we receive this continuous bombardment that we've normalized, that we call everyday life, which contains people's opinions, advertising, social media commentary? It's just this incessant barrage of relentless flooding information in the form of other people's opinions and just general information out there. That was not available a generation ago. That was not available 2, 5, and 10 generations ago. Can you imagine somebody from 10 generations back being alive today? The overwhelm that they would feel to walk through one day's worth of bombardment. And that bombardment is not just coming through the airwaves, as in through the internet and social media and what you might be watching on TV. It is the literal EMFs, the electromagnetic frequencies that we're swimming in. It's the collective consciousness that we are living in, because the collective holds everything. And I've explained this to you guys before, that the collective, at least at the level of the timeline, when we look at the entire collective reality, I've used this word before. I've said it looks like it's going to blow, because it is. The timeline's getting ready to pop, because the timeline is containing, as a convergence point, all frequencies right now, and it will do this right up until the ascension point. So we're living in this barrage that is indescribable, yet normalized. So we've normalized, and we call this everyday life, we've normalized this abnormal bombardment. So where is there space for you? Where is there space to breathe? Where is there space to disentangle and disengage? Plus, what we've also got going on is a war on planet Earth. And you might think, oh yeah, she's going to talk about Middle East now. No, I'm talking about the war of consciousness on the planet, wherein it's a fight for you to own your frequency. Because the false matrix keeps trying to take ownership of it, keeps trying to insert its broadcast signals into your field so that you'll dumb down, numb down, go unconscious again, and give it power again, because the false matrix has no power when you take yours back. That's what you're in the process of doing. That's the war for consciousness, so to speak. And what that's about is you maintaining your sovereignty. So there's that going on in the background. See how all of this stuff is unspoken. Your body is learning to deal with frequencies in the airwaves around it that were not there. There's also cosmic light coming in. Oh my gosh, let's talk more barrage upon flood upon flood. What we're dealing with as well, still at the unspoken, unseen, unacknowledged level, is the cosmic light that is rippling through the planet. And when that happens, it stirs up the darkness, because that's the nature of light. It makes darkness visible. When darkness is visible, it's like fleas jumping on the carpet. You can suddenly see them, and you didn't before. And when they were ignored, you didn't go for them. When you didn't know that they were there, there was nothing to focus on. Now that the light comes in, you start seeing your own patterns. You start seeing the patterns around the world, in your family perhaps, or in your friends, or in countries. Collectives start showing you, oh, these stuck places, these stuck repetitive patterns. Is that enough to be exhausted? Yeah, but there's more. There's also this feeling of, how many times can I hit my head against a brick wall? In other words, how many times can I repeat my own patterns of stuckness? That gets exhausting. That gets stale after a while. And there's also the ego, the pretense of the ego, still unspoken, still unacknowledged. This is why we don't walk around saying, here's the reasons why I'm tired, because there are no intellectual reasons to really match and to really explain your tiredness away. So the ego is the act. The ego is the false self. The ego is the persona, the personality self that was absolutely 100% needed and necessary in order for you to navigate the false matrix. There had to be a false self. And you know this. Anything that's not true requires work to maintain. It requires work to every single day dress up as the person you're not. And I don't mean that at the literal level. It's more like the coping mechanisms that we're dressing up with. It's more like the pretenses that we're dressing up with. It's more like the expectations of who we ought to be that we're dressing up with. That lie. The upholding of the lie becomes exhausting. But the thing is, we will continue to uphold the lie because we don't recognize, oh wait, this is a lie. See, that's part of healing. Part of healing is acknowledging, seeing, recognizing the things that I'm talking to you about, and then going, oh. So if that is the so-called lie, as in not the truth of who I am, you can see where this takes you. It's a hop, skip, and a jump to the question of, so then who am I really? And that's part of an important question, and it's part of the healing, it's part of the demands that I'm going to talk about, that we're all going to be faced with and going to have to face up against these demands to see how we fare. Are we ready to take those pretense clothes off? Are we ready to bare our naked soul, vulnerable self to ourselves? Can we do that? So let's look at more reasons for the exhaustion. I've got a little piece of paper here where I've written just a couple of things down. Oh my heavens, yes, avoidance. Oh gosh. Sorry, what? What were you talking about? Let's talk about something else. That's avoidance. Avoidance this is uncomfortable. It's a coping mechanism that leads to the most insane exhaustion. Because we were taught not to confront difficult, painful, heavy emotions. We were taught to analyze the heck out of them, like years worth of therapy, analyze it, because you've got to get mentally bigger than whatever it is that you're facing off against, not realizing that taking an emotion into the mental realm and applying analysis to an emotion actually congeals the emotion into place like a sticky glue that lives there forever, and all you can do now is look at the glue and be clever enough to know who put it there, why it's there, where it came from. But it's not dissolved, it's still there, it's not resolved. If anything, it's more congealed and stuck in place because we've applied analysis to emotion. Emotion can only be resolved at the level that it exists upon, not at the mental level, at the emotional level. Avoidance is, I'm not going to go there. Avoidance is, I'm going to go up into my thinking brain, which is why when somebody says I'm having a bad day, what's the first thing we say? Wow, what's going on? Let's analyze this. See, we don't even see these coping mechanisms because they are so normal to us. We've normalized avoidance to the point that we don't even see that we're avoiding anymore. We just say, oh, life is so hard. Let's talk about life is so hard. That's another reason why people are so exhausted right now. Here's a silly little example I'm going to give you. I was a kid and I'm pretty sure I was at the mall with my mom and I'm carrying a whole lot of bags. And we've got these plastic bags. Back in those days, all there was, no canvas bags. We've got these heavy plastic bags loaded with groceries, and we're making a run for the car. So we leave the trolley behind and we pick up all of the plastic bags, and they were so heavy that by the time I got to the car and put them on the back seat of the car, I remember looking at my fingers and seeing, it looks kind of like cuts, but it's not real paper cuts. It looks kind of like you've just cut your fingers because what you're carrying was so heavy. But I only saw those indentations when I put the bags down. I had to put it down in order for me to feel the rush of blood come through my fingers again. I had to put it down in order for me to go, wow, that was heavy. While I was dashing to the car, I was dashing to the car. That was all I was doing. See? That's what happens. By the way, we've got load shedding right now, which in South Africa is power outage deluxe. It's a whole long, horrible story. I'll tell you guys about it someday. But that's why my lighting's a bit dodgy and why I just realized now as I move my hand, sorry, you're going to be seeing more shadows than usual. Oh, sidetrack, Kerry. So that was what life was like for so many of us. We were carrying the metaphorical bags, not realizing that we weren't putting them down. If anything, we were picking more up. If anything, we were holding more, self-punishing, saying, I need to carry this because I'm a light worker. Some of you said this, because I'm a light worker, I've got to carry the pain and suffering of others. If ever there was a conversation about martyrdom that we needed to have, boy, oh boy, we need to have it soon. I'm going to do my best, depending on how my voice fares, to record the martyrdom video after this one. If not, I'll record it tomorrow, because we seriously need to have this talk about light workers and martyrdom. But nonetheless, the idea that letting go is difficult crept into our collective consciousness. So today you hear people say, oh, I really need to let go, but it's so hard. No. Carrying is the hard part. Letting go only allows you to see what you were carrying and to confront what you were ignoring. That is not hard. That is easy compared to the blind repetition of carrying when your muscles are aching and your hands are just about bleeding. That's the hard part. But because you're unplugged from the emotions, you don't necessarily see it as the hard part. What else did I put on my piece of paper? Ignoring the body. We all learned to do this. I learned to do it in school. And that was needing to go to the bathroom. I don't know about your school. I mean, this just sounds so barbaric and archaic when I say it to you, but it's true. In our schools, when we were kids, was yours the same? If you needed to go to the bathroom, you had to raise your hand. Ma'am, please, can I actually ask permission to go to the bathroom? But you had to. And if they said no, then you couldn't go. So you just sat there, learning what is supposed to be bladder control, but is actually learning how to override the body. There are people today who are thirsty. Maybe for water, maybe for information, maybe for love. But we're so used to overriding because we got into coping mode. Everything became about how can we cope? How can we cope? Which was another ignoring mechanism. So we became so unplugged from ourselves. So we had this unconsciousness happening. All that unplugging is unconsciousness. And that's exhausting to hold when we have all this light filtering into the planet, all this cosmic light that was not available before. Before, when we were well in the clutches of the false matrix, we didn't have this much light. Therefore, in a strange way, it was easier to bear the unconsciousness because there was no contrast. There was nothing other than the unpluggedness and the unconsciousness. Now that we've got true cosmic light coming in, which is what we were deprived of before, now that we've got this coming in and fueling us, now it's the equivalent of putting those bags down. And we're going, whoa, what's going on? My hands are so sore. I was carrying so much. That's why the exhaustion is coming up right now. By the way, I didn't cover it, but there's another reason. Oh, I just realized I didn't even put it on this piece of paper. Another reason why we're so tired is the ancestral baggage that we were carrying around, because it's all coming up for completion. This is what this life is about. This is your completion lifetime. And because it's a completion lifetime, it is wanting to conclude every last thing, including all of your past lives, including all of your ancestral baggage that you've been carrying. I mean, can you see why the exhaustion was there? Is there for many of you? So let's talk more now about the healing. Because if you think about what letting go is, it is simply returning to the truth of who you are. But that requires a mental readiness, an emotional readiness, for you to be in the unknown. And that is what a lot of people are in avoidance of. I don't want to be in the unknown, because unknown means unsafe, means I'm not in control, means I don't know who I am. Even if the persona self, the false self, the ego, whatever we want to call it, even if that is tired and exhausted and on its last legs and not even able to drag itself around anymore, I still knew who that person was. So there's a lot of people that are going to cling to the familiarity of the known and call that comfortable. Of course, it's not comfortable. It's just familiar. But get yourself mentally, get yourself emotionally prepared. That means I'm not just going to be in the unknown. I'm going to be unknown. And that's a freedom, not a fear. Can you see how you get to look at this differently now? Oh, wow. To be in the unknown is actually when I get to breathe deeper. Not when I start hyperventilating, right? Do you see how we became so conditioned towards safety and familiarity being the same thing? Somebody who is being continually harmed and punished is familiar with that abuse, will go back to that abuse not because it's safe, but because it's familiar. Understand that the unknown is where you get to take some very deep breaths and recognize this is what I was always meant to do. I was always meant to step into this broader sense of self, to release judgment of self and of others. And this is where we get to stop holding other people accountable to make our world okay. One of the reasons why there's so much judgment in the world right now is because people feel so unsafe and so out of sorts and out of control. And instead of just letting themselves feel those things, because that's what it does feel like at the doorway to the unknown, there are people who cling to that doorway and try to control the behavior of others, the words of others, the statements, the opinions of others, the look even of others. People do it to me every day on social media. Kiri, you shouldn't say it like this. You should say it like that. You're wrong about this. You're wrong about that. So there's so many people out there in such correction. So it's judgment at a very harmful level where people become so aggressive in their judgment, not realizing that when you hold judgment of another, you irrevocably harm yourself. Judgment is the most toxic thing that you can put into your body. We're so busy looking at all the poisons on the planet. We're so busy looking at all the foodstuffs that we should or shouldn't be consuming, forgetting about the emotional toxicity that we could be stewing in. I put up a video where I discussed this a lot deeper. I'll link the video for you over here. You might want to go and watch that. So judgment, to let go of judgment, means that you must step into something else. Is it non-judgment? No, it's not go into non-judgment, because that's like non-thinking. If I say to you, don't think of anything right now, whoopsie, that's pretty difficult. The brain just wants to go, what does she mean? Am I thinking now? I think I'm thinking. Am I failing? Am I winning? Am I succeeding? Is this a thought? How do I know if this is a thought? The brain does crazy. The chatterbox brain does crazy, crazy things. So this is not don't judge. This is do the opposite of what judgment is, which is acceptance. It's a mastery. I accept that there are people in this world that I don't agree with, and that's okay. I accept that there are things in this world that I don't agree with, and that's okay. I accept that there are challenges that I might be facing, and that's okay. I accept that I have shortcomings, and they're okay. I accept. Acceptance is not condoning. Acceptance is also not prolonging. Judgment is prolonging the dance, the tango with whatever you judge. You bind yourself to the thing that you judge. Learning to let go has another step, which is letting go even deeper, that you let go of judgment, step into acceptance, and here you get very humble. And the universe is going to demand this of you. How humble can you get? How humble can you be? There's another demand, and it's called authenticity, and it's very linked to intimacy. So a lot of people that lack intimacy crave intimacy and demand intimacy from their partners. They say, oh, my partner, they're failing in the intimacy arena. They're not giving me intimacy, as if it's something that somebody can give to you. That's not what intimacy is. Intimacy is something that you allow through your relationship to yourself. I remember the very first time I had a spiritual person explain intimacy to me. They said, intimacy is your ability to see into me see. And when I allow someone to see into me, then I'm allowing intimacy. What if they don't meet me there? What if they don't want to see into me? Then that's okay, because they will only be able to see into me at the same level that they can see into themselves. And my attraction to them will be based on the level at which I've met myself. So I can't go blame that person out there who doesn't want to see into me. Intimacy begins with you. Intimacy begins with your relationship to your own soul, your own self, your own divinity, your own feelings and emotions, the negative ones, so-called negative ones, as well as the positive ones. Intimacy is your ability to meet yourself where you are, as you are, and it engenders authenticity. These are the demands of light workers. You're going to realize without these tools, they sound simple. Kiri's talking about humility, intimacy, authenticity. I can do this stuff. No, a lot of you can spell the stuff. But can you be the stuff? Can you live this way? And if you are already, can you go deeper? There's a lot of people that are confused and think, oh, I've got to teach the world. They feel almost a panic. And they say, I've got to start teaching this work. I've got to teach people how to do this. No, you've got to be this. I cannot possibly sit in front of you with the words that I'm giving you right now without doing this for myself, without this coming from an organic place. It's the only reason why you've stayed this long into the video and you're still listening to me now is because you can hear, although my voice is a bit cracky and croaky, it's real. I'm speaking to you from a place of my own inner embodiment, my own inner experience. Authenticity is the you that you are underneath the cloak of the ego. And that's why you feel vulnerable. That's why you feel raw when you get so real. That's why some people who get really angry cry. Do you know why that happens? Because it's real. Sometimes anger does that. Sometimes anger allows you to just, see, we always think of emotions as bad, don't we? Oh, anger's bad. No, it's not. Our judgment of anger is the bad that we're so concerned about. Anger in and of itself can really be a purifying fire and can have the power to connect you to a very deep, authentic space. Anger that is not lashed out, nor that is used for self-harm through suppressing and eating oneself away from the inside. Anger that is used as a purification, which is what it is in its divine neutral state, is a very powerful energy. And your job is going to be to feel the moment. This is another one of the big demands. Can you feel the moment? Can you meet yourself in the moment, unbridled, unrestricted, not avoiding, not suppressing, not condemning, not pushing away? Can you meet yourself fully, deeply, powerfully as you? And that doesn't mean you got to know who you are. It means you've got to be willing to discover who you are. That's the unknown. See how all of these things are tied together to create one overall picture. This is the beginning, just the beginning of you refueling, of you dropping the facade, of you letting the universe in. We got so used to blaming others. This is another demand. And when I'm talking about the demands, you understand, I'm talking about things that you will feel, I have to do this, and if I don't or can't or won't, I don't get to go further. That's what I'm meaning when I'm talking about the demands of the light worker. The light worker will feel like this is being demanded of me now. I'm being asked to step up, because you are. You really are being asked to step up. And this is how. Personal responsibility is something that I have spoken about probably since I first started speaking publicly. I was talking about personal responsibility because it is the cornerstone to you embodying your divinity. The false matrix taught us all that if we blamed somebody else, that we'd be indemnified. And the louder we blamed another, the more we would be purified by contrast to their wrongdoing. So we employed that method blindly. And unconsciously, we still want to make somebody else wrong. Learning that skill of letting another person be wrong, letting another person be where they are, empowering them to be where they are, even when it's not nice, even when it's really difficult, even when it's really painful. Acknowledge them for being where they are, who they are, as they are, and let that then permission you into being where you are, because you, without the resistance, the condemnation, the judgment, the desire to save another, you, without all of that stuff, you are free. And when you are free, you're a beacon. And when you're a beacon, you become a ripple to the planet that ripples into the hearts of all of the stuck ones, all of the lost ones, all of the hurt ones, all of the wounded ones, all of the lost and the rejected and alone and abandoned ones. You don't help them by your rage. You don't help them by your stuckness. You help them by being the ripple. And that's the next phase. Every light worker is going to be called to be that ripple more and more and more. I want to know, what hit you the hardest? What was the message today for you that really hit home? And what are you going to do about it? From my heart all the way into yours. Lots of love, everyone.